Hi, everyone, and welcome to the CURES Show, where we explore the cutting edge of wellness for our mind, body, and spirit. I'm Kara Sundlin. So we're talking about heart disease. And if you're a woman listening to this or watching this, you might not realize it is the, hands down, #1 killer of women. And a lot of people don't know that. So I'm joined by Adria Giordano and Russ Mills with the American Heart Association. Adria is the executive director here in Connecticut, and Russ, I know you're the chair of the board, so thank you so much for both of you for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having us.
So let's start there. Do you think, Adria, there's just a lot of misconceptions? Women especially don't know how dangerous and how much heart disease kills women?
Absolutely. You said it exactly. Women don't know because we're caretakers. We're always taking care of everybody else. And heart attacks and cardiac arrest happen differently. The symptoms are different for women. And so they may just think, I'm just tired. Oh, I need to get a little bit more sleep. I can't stop. So they don't know the signs, and they don't know the prevention as well. So we're really here at the American Heart Association are really working towards changing those. You know, 1 in 3 women die of heart disease every year. It's, as you said, it's the #1 killer, more than all cancers combined. So bringing awareness is the first step, and then educating women on how to know what the symptoms are, how they can learn more about it, and really be proactive in their own health.
So let's talk about that real quick, and you can both chime in, but let me finish with Adria, that some of the symptoms where we may not realize, I mean, you see in the movies, a man's grabbing his heart. And not that that can't happen, but how does it sometimes happen for women?
Differently sometimes. It's tired, they might have a raging headache, they might have a pain in their arms, they might feel hot and sweaty a little bit, and chalk it up again to they're just getting hot and sweaty, they're overtired, they're not drinking enough water. They know that something else is going on with their bodies, but they don't listen to that. They just think, I must not be, I just don't have time, I'll think about it another time.
Well, right, I mean, and not that men aren't busy too, but I think that we kind of go, well, I'm always tired, or okay, especially in midlife, women might be like, I'm a little hot and sweaty, it's the change, or, so part of your job is to educate folks. What do you think the struggle is in getting the message across to women?
Well, you know, I think we're all busy, like you said, Kara, and it's so easy for us to just continue to go about our daily lives, which are packed, and we tend to push things off, and we don't pay attention to the signals of our bodies, and we don't listen to them when they're trying to tell us something. And like Adria said, a lot of times it isn't like you see in the movies where you're having some massive pressure or, you know, something that's really obvious to go attend to, so we just keep going about things until a bigger event happens, and hopefully, you know, we like to say, hopefully people avoid that big event. You know, they don't get to that point.
Well, and one of the impact goal for everyone, and if you're in Connecticut, we're having a huge heart walk that is actually, as of this taping, tomorrow. And so we're hoping hundreds, maybe thousands of folks are gonna come out to Bushnell Park. But you want every person to have a full, healthy life. And when heart disease, especially in America, with our stress levels, with our imperfect diets, this is something we could really do a lot better at with some of the simple changes. What would you say some of the top changes you would like to see?
And they're simple. It's getting out, getting exercise. You don't have to go to the gym for hours every day and lift heavy weights. Just go for brisk walks. Be active. If you work from home, use a standing desk so you're not sitting for long periods of time in your office environment. There are many, many things we can do for exercise and in staying active, and also for our diets. You know, pick the right foods and look at the labels.
Yeah, let's talk about that, Adria. I know you're Italian, right?
Yeah,
we all like to enjoy food. and I've been doing this show now a really long time, so I know that making sure we get a lot of fruits and vegetables, we can get really specific or we can keep it simple, but keeping it simple, what would you like to see one change?
One change is, you know, the American Heart Association, what I love about it is anyone can go on our website at any time, heart.org, and look at our Life's Essential 8s, which really covers healthy eating, sleeping, getting enough, you know, walking, exercising, drinking water. But to your point, we don't have to make drastic changes. They can be simple changes. Being Italian, bread and starchy foods is like a prerequisite to be Italian. telling you, it's staying away from starchy foods, making one change. Maybe it's not drinking 2 cups of coffee. Maybe it's 1 coffee. Maybe it's, am I getting enough water? What is your water intake? It could be as easy as like sleeping also is a big component of keeping healthy heart. So there's a lot of little changes I think that can help.
Well, and especially after the pandemic, today 1 in 3 adults in the U.S. Report being depressed or worried, and that negatively impacts not only our mental well-being, but heart is brain, brain is heart. So talk about, as we go through incredible stress levels, thank goodness we're talking about it, but how does that impact heart disease?
Well, we put more strains on our body. Sometimes we don't realize it mentally, but our body might be screaming for help. You know, it's just getting too stressed. And exercise that we talked about is one great way to relieve the stress and to bring our spirits up and help us with our mental condition as well.
Yeah, well, and be great if we were all remembering to meditate each day, or even just taking those deep breaths, or a brisk 5 to 10 minute walk can really, clinically, we can see in our blood, it lowers the stress level. So that brisk 5 to 10 minute walk at lunch or something could start there. That could make a big difference.
Absolutely. Even listening to a podcast at night, like something to calm down your system at night too.
Listen to the CURES podcast.
Listen to the CURES podcast. Listen to some really nice music. Changing the way that we treat ourselves and our bodies physically and mentally, as you said, is so important. And it is great that we're talking about it more, because we're seeing kids today, especially coming out of the pandemic, are so stressed. Everybody's really stressed. People don't take a minute to think, how can I calm down and be healthy? And
there's actually, even that 1 minute, I know I'll just refer you back to many of the episodes we've done with Dr. Laura Saunders, but just 3 minutes in the morning of breathing and a positive affirmation of, all is well, or I'm okay, or I'm loved, or I'm safe. I mean, even if, sometimes you're thinking, I don't want to go for a walk, or I've got too much to do. I've started at lunch, I'll make my phone calls when I'm booking folks like you. I'm like, all right, I can make a phone call while I'm walking. Like most of us have, either put the phone on speaker or AirPods, and we can do some of our calls while we walk. So little things like pairing some exercise with our to-do list can relieve stress and help our hearts. It's a great way to do what you just said. Get out and be active. Incorporate, combine activities. Do the phone calls while you're exercising. Again, if you're a remote worker like many people are now, or some form of hybrid work, integrate. Integrate in a very healthy way your working lifestyle with your personal lifestyle. It's hard too. I think if you're working at home, I fortunately or unfortunately, I never really worked at home, but the couple of times that I've had to for a day or two, I think it's a lot harder. We can be so accessible now. So we have to kind of be our own boundary setters of, no, I can't do 7 Zooms back to back. I need to get up and move around. I need to block personal time on my calendar. What do you suggest to folks? Just what you just said, block personal time. And I would say, the American Heart Association did a study. Coming out of the pandemic, more people are sedentary. More people are working remotely. It is very easy to sit at home when you're on back-to-back Zoom calls from 8 in the morning till 5 at night if you don't have an office. And so you're not closing the door and you're not taking that time. But I would say exactly what you said. Block off time on your calendar. I block off time every day. It's 45 minutes. I try to take my dog for a walk, or at least I'm getting out of the office if I'm not in external meetings. But you have to make an intentional decision to put the time on your calendar. You can't say, when time allows, I'm going to go for a walk, because that's not going to happen. Correct. And too often we go, I'm tired, I'm just going to sit down. and so this says right here, 1 in 4 U.S. adults sits for longer than 8 hours a day. Amazing. We're sitting for 8 hours a day. Like, we think we're so busy and working so hard, but we're just sitting. Yeah. And it's very easy to also run to the kitchen and snack all day and pick the wrong food selections. Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. 1 in 10 adults, only 1 in 10, get enough fruits or veggies in their diet. Wow. So, and that's also, COVID-19 has made the issue bigger with amplifying how sometimes it's hard to get. But we can talk about, if you can't afford it, it could be cans, it can be frozen vegetables are just as good as fresh. Picking something you like, people say, oh, I don't like all this, or it's too hard. I mean, whole foods are fast food. So if you just bite into an apple, that's about as fast food as you can get. Yeah, and if you go on our website and
there's a list of recipes you could also make.
Yeah.
Very simple, very healthy recipes. They're not complicated.
Yeah,
you can do it in
easy.
less than 25 minutes, and it's cost effective as well too. I always say, like, eat what's in season also. So we're in the fall season now, like apples are abundant. You know, eat what's in season. Fruits and vegetables. There's farmers markets. Visit a farm. I love farmers markets. You know, make it a family.
Make it a family thing. But even if you're just starting with the if you're an Instacart person or whatever, just making sure that every meal has hopefully a fruit and veggie, you know, and again, these are things that can really make a difference over time.
And I think there's a misconception that eating healthy requires spending a lot more money. It requires you to go shop at, you know, higher end grocery stores and things like that. And there's nothing further from the truth. If you pick simple, you know, whole-based foods and shop around and be smart about your choices, you can do that in a very economical way.
Yeah. I mean, you can even Google now. I tell people allrecipes.com, or even if you follow things on social media, a lot of people are doing these really easy 3-ingredient recipes. And so, you know, and if your ingredients are just like throw some veggies in a pan and put them over rice and chicken, like that's a simple meal.
Broil them, right? Broil them instead of fry them.
Yeah, yeah.
With a little bit of olive oil.
And olive oil constantly, that's a hard, you can be happy about that. As olive oil is a heart healthy oil. I've done lots of stories on that being a good one. And that can be something also, switching out those inflammatory seed oils with a healthy olive oil.
That's right.
Yeah, so these are all things that part of it's just awareness, right? So let's go back to that. Women aren't paying attention. You have a great video that you show at different events. Who's the famous actress?
It is, my goodness, did I just say what it was? Not Kristen Bell, but...
Oh, we'll come back.
I'll come back to it.
But anyway, we'll come back to it because we were just talking about this. The video is typical of, it could be any woman, and she's like, oh, I don't feel good, I don't have this. And then, I wonder if I might be having a heart attack. I'm too busy. And then she calls 911 and they said they'll be there in just a couple of minutes. She's like, can you make it 10? She wants to clean up
her room.
Like women, we are like, okay, I'm kind of thinking something's off, but I don't have time to deal with it. That needs to change?
That absolutely needs to change. And before, as Russ said, before it becomes an incident. You know, the American Heart Association, our theme this year is, we all saw what happened with Damar Hamlin. And that chain of command is why he survived, because somebody stepped in and did CPR training on him. And so what we are hoping to do, our theme is turning a nation of bystanders into a nation of lifesavers, so that every person and every home and every school and every company knows the warning signs and knows how to put their hands on someone and do hands-only CPR. Does not require breathing.
You don't
it's
have to do the breaths.
Exactly, hands-only CPR. And I will tell you that only 39% of women, when they have a heart incident, 39% of women, only 39% have somebody come and put their hands on them, because people don't want to put their hands on a woman. So it's educating people about, it's very easy to do hands-only CPR. We have it on our websites. It's 2 steps. Call 911, press hard and fast for 120 beats in the center of a chest, to a fun song like the Bee Gees, Staying
There are a
Alive.
lot of choices, yes.
Yeah. We actually
songs.
we have a radio list, a song list of songs that go
Now,
with
of course,
the
if
beat.
you're actually doing this, you're not going to go to the website and have time to do this, but I'll share a quick story that this happened to us. We were driving, and a woman in front of us in the back roads on the way to Rhode Island, we noticed someone on the side of the road off their bike, and it was my husband and my kids. And I remembered that from college, that you don't have to do the breaths, just do the compressions, find the sternum and just do it. And so we called 911, and I just kept doing compressions. And later on, she would tell me that, you know, the reason she was alive the next weekend to go take her grandkids was because we stopped and did compressions, because we didn't know what had happened, but she had had a heart attack. And also, you help people with their, you know, brain damage can happen if you don't get help. So in this case, we were out in the sticks. It took a while. The one thing I think I did wrong, and it had been many years since I was trained, I was a little nervous to hurt her. And when the EMTs got there, I mean, they were breaking ribs.
They say if you're not cracking a rib, you may not be doing it hard enough.
So just, you know, even if we want people to go to the local hospitals, you offer all kinds of ways on the website to get trained for free.
Hands-only CPR. It's literally a 3-minute video that you could watch.
But like literally just putting it right in the center of the chest and boom, 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 hard until, you know, hopefully keep doing it until help arrives, and call 911 right away. Women, let's talk about calling 911. I think if this was, God forbid, but if it was happening to me, I'd be a little nervous, like, you know, I'm just a little tired. I have this little pain. It's probably nothing I'm going to bother people if I call 911. Do you guys think that's an issue? They don't call 911 because they're afraid that they're overreacting.
They're
or something.
I think it's definitely an issue. Yeah.
Or people are going to think
I'm going to trouble somebody. I don't know if this is real.
What if it's not, and I just bothered them?
Right.
So what do you say to people who'll be thinking, like, I want people to remember, you're not bothering people, right? That's what 911 is for.
It's there for us. It's, you know, there to save lives. Don't try to make the decision on your own about how severe your symptoms are or whether or not they're, you know, your life is at stake. Make the call.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know how to do hands-only CPR, don't be afraid of it. Learn it. Even if you have to watch a YouTube video to get familiar with it, you know, it's critical care to bridge someone between the time of an event and the time that professional responders show up, first responders show up.
Right, and that's the thing, and people are thinking, well, I'm not CPR certified, I don't want to mess up. You are now changing that message of don't be a bystander, don't just call 911, put your hands on the person, and even if you're not doing it as hard as you need to, like I was, or you're still doing better than nothing, and you're helping keep that blood flow.
It's that better than nothing. Every minute that goes by when somebody doesn't put a hands on a body is 10% left chance of survival.
Wow.
So what you did
every
is
minute
saving
you lose 10%.
10% of survival, and you know, here in Connecticut they say approximately 3 to 6 minutes from when you call 911. But if that ambulance in your town, if it's a rural town, if it's a busy urban town, and they're addressing another incident, you don't know when they're going to get to you.
Yeah.
So rather than sitting there and wait, although we've come so far, the American Heart Association, we're celebrating 100 years, the fact that 1 in 5 people in the United States is still dying of a heart attack, a heart disease, a heart incident is 1 too many. And 1 in 3 women is too many. So if we can educate people and have them be, like you said, less afraid of putting their hands and touching something, touching someone, helping them, anything is better than nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned location. You know, Adria spoke about rural locations and in areas that it just takes longer to get medical first responders to arrive because of the logistics. I'm a boater, so for those of you that are out on the water, you're talking sometimes more than 30 minutes by the time the authorities get in their vessels, get out to your location. You know, they're not dealing with the street map where, you know, everything's pinpoint locations. So this need to have somebody knowledgeable with you that can do CPR is so important.
Yeah, and again, if you're not CPR certified, you heard it from the Heart Association. You're not going to hurt someone by pressing like that, and you don't need to worry about the breaths. If you know, we used to be. If you are great and you remember where to do them, but you just want. At this point, we just want the heart to keep pumping.
We want to make sure everybody, you know, knows, one person in every household or more in every company. We want everybody to learn hands-only CPR.
And you know, this is as being a co-chair of this walk, you know, it's something near and dear to myself, to everybody here at Channel 3, because we lost our dearly beloved Denise DiCenzo, who on the surface looked like the healthiest woman, truly was. I mean, she took such good care of all these things. She did that. But things can still happen, and it's believed that she passed away of a heart attack. And that day, her family talked about she felt super tired. She felt super exhausted. And a lot of reflux. So reflux can also be a soft sign. And so women need to understand, obviously, you know, we're not going to, Denise isn't here to tell us, but I know she would want people to be super careful and take care of themselves. We have to listen that even those soft signs could be a really loud warning.
Absolutely. And also, I might add, is women and men need to know family history and tell your doctor your family's history, because that's critical to knowing your own body and your own health. But if you feel something's off, say something, of course.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not as easy as thinking to yourself that, hey, I don't smoke, I don't drink excessively, I'm trying to eat the right foods, I should be good. Because sometimes that's not enough. To Adria's point about family history, that's one potential thing that can
Genetics
really
will play a
affect
big-
it.
And blood
Genetics.
pressure too. Know
And
your
know
blood
your
pressure.
blood pressure. We can all get those. They're not very expensive. They have blood pressure monitors you can keep at home. Sometimes doctors advise if you're borderline, you should take them. And we're getting more aware of deep breathing exercises, walking, things that we can do that will actually lower our blood pressure.
Right.
And diet, so all those things. So we want women especially, I know that we've talked a lot about women, and we want women to understand the soft signs. Basically, when in doubt, check it out.
When in doubt, check it out. That's absolutely right. And I would say the more awareness, the more preventative work that we can do, the more lives we can save.
Yeah.
And here in Connecticut, 7,000 people are going to die in the coming year from cardiovascular disease, right here in Connecticut.
And then we've talked a lot about women. Do men sometimes also have the softer signs, or is it usually more of the traditional pains that we think of?
I think the signs can be softer. I had very soft signs, and I had a completely blocked artery and had no idea. I thought I was
Really?
just tired, and I was cutting the lawn one day, and my wife insisted get me to the hospital, which I pushed back on, but finally caved in and did that. And lo and behold, what
She
I
saved
thought
your
was
life.
just, she really did. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing, that women's intuition. But sometimes we don't turn it on ourselves. So, I mean, I guess that's the goal of having you all here, having everyone come out to the walk at Bushnell Park, which if you're listening in advance, people can go do that. In the morning, they can show up. Even if you haven't registered, it's going to be
Show
a
up.
gorgeous
Oh, it's
day,
gonna be great.
like 80 degrees
Absolutely.
here in the end of October. But we want people to know that education really is the way that we're going to just going on that website. And mention your website again.
Yeah, heart.org.
Yep.
You can also find healthy recipes.
Yep.
We talked a little bit about eating healthy or healthy recipes. You can find songs to help you learn how to do hands-only CPR. There's so many educational resources for free right on our
everything. So
website.
take a moment. You're already listening to a podcast, or you're already online watching this. Going to heart.org, you said, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can do all that. And what about for families? Women are often the ones who are taking care of our families. That's part of the problem, is we're doing so much caretaking that we're not always listening. What about for kids? Are we seeing, I'm reading reports that sometimes these issues are happening younger and younger, with even adolescents having high cholesterol now.
We have actually stories of kids having strokes, 16-year-old kids having strokes.
Why?
Diet,
Stress.
sometimes family history, sometimes stress, sometimes not eating healthy, all the factors. And so we actually have a Kids Heart Challenge at the American Heart Association, where we're educating and we're bringing resources from kindergarten level up through high school. So we have like youth market teams in every community, reaching out to the reaching out to the educators, the superintendents. Sometimes they work with the gym teachers on what is it. Remember, we learn what does a healthy plate look like? Do you have different colors? What vegetables are you eating? We talk about vaping and tobacco. That's another one of our big focus areas at the American Heart Association and here in Connecticut.
So let's be clear about that. Not only did recently you added sleep to the 8 things. Sleep is so important.
So important.
But vaping is growing exponentially. A lot of kids think, wrongly so, it's healthier than cigarettes. It's not going to hurt me. There's lawsuits, of course, to get them off the market. But in the meantime, what's the research saying about vaping or any kind of use of cannabis, vaping, cigarettes, and heart disease?
Well, one statistic is that in our state here in Connecticut, we are a few points higher than the national average for youth tobacco use, which is not a good statistic to be a part of. The fact that some of these tobacco products are flavored, very enticing flavors, that doesn't help. That causes our youth to want to try different flavors and do more of that.
Yeah.
And again, because maybe you don't see a lit cigarette in the vape behaves maybe a little bit differently, there's this perception that maybe it's a little more healthy than versus smoking, and that's not the case at all.
No, right?
And it is enticing, right? These flavored tobaccos. One of the things we're doing.
And they can do them sometimes without being caught.
And they can do without being caught.
Correct.
Yeah, and so we have a director of advocacy here in Connecticut that's working at the legislative level to put together funding for anti-tobacco and anti-vaping, really looking at how are kids getting this in their hands, because they're, like you said, they're very enticed by the flavor, by it's really easy to do it. Middle school kids are starting it, younger and younger, and there's not enough research yet to know the devastating effects it's going to have, but we already know it's affecting their heart.
And we've had stories of, unfortunately, like kids getting lung transplants at the age of 16. Some of the devices even having things where the battery blows up while they're using it. I mean, there's all kinds of things. So
sad,
the bottom line is, have the conversation with your kids. If you're already smoking, you really want people to try and quit. So there's a big link. We don't have to question that. There's a big link to heart disease, all kinds of illnesses, but specifically we're here to talk about heart disease and any kind of this use of nicotine, however you're getting it. Is there any, people are also using cannabis more because that's become legal. Do we have any information that you want people to understand about using cannabis and heart disease?
I mean, go ahead, you
I don't have any specific information about that, but I would say to the extent that you're smoking it, putting it into your lungs, into your system, it might have the same effects as a vape or a cigarette.
Right. It's still a foreign smoke coming into your body, so different without, different drug. But basically, if we want to sum it up as we're coming actually to the end of our time, the major campaign here is to just make people aware. So I'll give you each a moment to say, what do you want people to know? What do you wish you could snap your fingers and they would understand? And I'll ask that to both of you.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is people have heard of the American Heart Association and they know we fund research, but they really don't know how we work in communities. And what we're here to do is to help bring awareness to people, helping them live longer and healthier lives. And it's very easy to work with us. So I would say reach out, reach out to us, go on our website, look at all of our resources, learn hands-only CPR so you can be a lifesaver, and then look at our Life's Essential 8s, because it's very easy to learn a lot of this stuff, and we find ways to incorporate it into our daily life.
And I would just add, heart disease and stroke are the #1 killer of people in the world. And if that's not staggering and a wake-up call for us, it really should be. So, we're doing the Heart Walk tomorrow. This is a great way to not only bring a sense of community together, we all need that with everything that's going on in the world. It's an opportunity to get some exercise. It's a family day. It's a day where we recognize and honor survivors. And there are so many people that are affected by this. And like we talked about today, don't let an event become the reason why you have some sort of involvement in what we're talking about. Whether it's learning the hands-only CPR or participating in the Heart Walk itself. Get involved with something that is a #1 killer of people in the world. 130 million people just in the United States have heart disease, and some don't even know about it right now. This is something worthy of your time.
Yep. Actually, yeah, and as we come to our final minute, I just want to kind of sum it up for folks. We want to make sure that if you do one thing on that, one thing a week, right, on those 8 things, maybe try to get a little more sleep, get a few more fruits and veggies, take some brisk walks. We're not asking everything. All these small things clinically have shown can make a huge difference. So it's not going to cost a lot of money. It's not going to take a lot of time. These are things that can really make your life better. So I appreciate Adria, thank you so much for being here as well, and both of you for coming, and we're all going to be at the walk tomorrow.
We will. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Kara.
All right, so share the information. Go see heart.org. Have a great day, everyone, and be well. For more information on the cutting edge of wellness, you can follow me on social media at Kara Sundlin.